Hello. Looks like we have a few people watching, so I wanted to just get started. It's totally fine if you guys want to stay quiet today. It's kind of I think it's kind of a busy time for a lot of people. And also, personally, I've been noticing it's just been sort of a weird time. Just in general in the world. I don't really want to get into it here because this is supposed to be sort of an escape, but just kind of wanted to acknowledge it that, I don't think that all is right in the world right now. Not that it has ever been, but just things are particularly weird right now. I just wanted to kind of put that out there and just be like, hey, we're just going to have some fun here for a couple of hours. Hey, Noelle. Hey, Courtney. How are you guys doing? Hello, out of sight musician. Unless you have changed your name from before, welcome. That's the first time I've seen you in the chat. So hello. Today we're going to be looking at two head joints, and I want you guys to click in the poll here. I asked which one I should start with, so you can just go ahead and click which one you guys are interested in, just so you guys know which one is which is probably why you guys haven't chosen. The Boxwood one is the one to the left here, which I'll show on this camera. This is the David Chu Boxwood head joint. I believe they're based in Massachusetts. And this is a no-name head joint. I have no information on this head joint at all, but I saw that there were a bunch of no-name head joints on Flute Center's database. So I was curious about them because I was sure that they were going to offer something very unique that I've never seen before. And sure enough, something that I haven't seen before is this bubble style head joint. So, looking down the flute here, or the tube, it doesn't look like the bubble, like this part actually bubbles out. As far as I can see into the actual tube, it looks fairly straight in there. I'm so sorry, it's so dark, so it's really hard for me to show you guys. But I don't really know what to expect here. I can see in the light that there's a little bit of like a ridge going on here. I did leave the description and the product link to both of these in the description bar below, so you guys can go check that out if you'd like. Oh, you are blind guy. Out of sight musician is such that is so clever. That's the word I was looking for. Yay! It is you, blind guy. I think you probably just redid your name. I really like your new username. That is really clever and very cute. Hey Bill, how are you? So, do you guys have a preference? If I'm not getting a preference from you guys within the next minute or so, I'm just going to choose one of these. Yeah. You're welcome. So blind guy, do you want me to call you blind guy, or do you want me to call you out of sight? Let me know which one you prefer me referring to you. All right. I'm going to probably be trying these on my Trevor James copper alloy. Oh, is the poll not working? Is that why I'm not seeing? Then you know what? I'm just going to end the poll. Interesting. The poll isn't working. Okay, I just ended the poll. It looks like people want me to start with the Chu. I have 71% there, and then 28% wanted no name. So unfortunately, I'm sorry for my no name fans. We will be starting with the Chu. I'm going to be trying these on the Trevor James copper alloy because I'm fairly certain that the tubing is going to fit this one. I haven't actually tried it yet because I really wanted this to be a surprise, you know. And also most people, at least in North America, will be playing a B-foot joint. I do have a Mateki here that I will pull out if I really want to try these on a silver flute. But because it is C-foot joint, the C-foot joint will actually cause the flute to behave a little bit differently than I think what a lot of people who are familiar with B-foots, how it'll C-foots behave slightly differently than B-foots in that the low notes sit higher in the mouth and the high notes sit lower in the mouth. So I figured that to make this review, I think, as you know, relatable to my North American audience, I think I'll be primarily trying it on this Trevor James copper alloy. And the reason for that is because these are actually being sold to a North American market. So, you know, for anyone who is watching this outside of North America, just know that you are, I just want you to know the context. The context is that you are watching a review of two flute head joints from two completely different makers, on a flute that I think would be, like, at least the configuration of the flute that would be found more often in North America. So just call you Steven. Sounds good. I'll try to remember. Yeah. Wouldn't the sound resonate differently on a wooden one too? Absolutely, Violet. Absolutely. And welcome to the stream. So it's just that I think most people purchasing these head joints are probably going to be trying them on their own metal B-foot joint flutes. That's the most, I think, common thing in North America at the very least. So the copper alloy fits me better typically than a silver does. So I think my comfort level with these flutes will be a little bit more you know, like closer to kind of like the bass way that I play. So I feel like that is a, you know, I'm just kind of telling you all my biases and all my, like the context in which I am seeing and feeling these head joints. So it'll give you a better idea of what we're looking at. But okay, looks like we're trying the Chu, and here we go. We're going to see if this fits. We'll see if this fits. Please fit. Yes, it fits. And someone actually put some plumber's tape on here. Excellent. Very good. And I don't even have to add any extra because that's perfect amount of tension. Good, 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 good. Okay, wonderful. So we're going to try this. I'm just going to put this on its side here so I have a little bit of room to place this here. Let's get our whole review situation going. So this is the Chu Boxwood head joint. We'll do that just so anyone who is dropping in knows what we are doing. Okay, so I'm just going to noodle around a little bit first, and then we will explore the harmonics, kind of like get a gist of how it plays. I'll give you guys my first impressions, and then we'll see what I feel like doing. Sometimes I feel like immediately testing it on a song. Sometimes I will want to just kind of like go through my rubric, which is kind of like dynamic and tone color manipulation, articulation, and then yeah, that's pretty much it for a head joint. There's actually fewer things that we have to try on a head joint than on a full flute. So yeah, let's see what happens. I typically respond very well to Boxwood. There was I believe it was a Hernandez wooden head joint that I tried a long time ago for you guys. It was for a review. And I really like the Boxwood. It's a very light wood. And it gives like this deliciously woodsy kind of texture to the sound. So let's see if this does something similar. This one has a carved lip plate, which I really love. I'm a big fan of carved lip plates. Let me just show you guys here. Yeah, so you guys can see the whole carved lip plate. I discovered when I put the whatchamacallit, the product link in the description. I was typing out the specs that are listed on the actual invoice, and you can actually order this without the lip plate. So some people don't actually like the carved lip plate, in which case you can actually request to not have this at all. So it really kind of depends on each person's preference. I can see that the hole is fairly square, so I think I might like it. I tend to be a big fan of this type of shape, so let's see. Here we go. Do you guys hear how woody it is? Like, this is my, I think, second or third time playing a Boxwood, and it's just so woody. It like makes your whole flute sound like a wooden flute. And I really love that, because it means that you can play a lot of more folky type of things with a little bit more authenticity, if that makes sense. Like, you get more of that edge to the sound, the kind of whooshy, woody edge to the sound that you can't otherwise get on a metal flute. Okay, so I am noticing that as soon as I get up to high C, there seems to be a bit of a break there, which is making me wonder if the absolute highest notes are the notes that are kind of the, what I call the outlier. Because typically, like, I will feel like, when you play into a flute, you should feel like you're saying pew, pew into the flute. And if you do that, you'll feel an air bubble kind of forming in the front of your mouth. You can move that air bubble around, and usually on a flute, that air bubble kind of follows a path. Like, there's like a pattern. Like, low notes tend to sit somewhere lower and more forward, and high notes, it tends to sit a little bit higher, slightly farther back sometimes. But there will be like one small area of the flute where it will break away from the expected pattern. So it'll suddenly sit lower and more forward. And I wonder if that's the case for the highest notes. Like, we're talking into the fourth register, which is, granted, not what most people would be screaming on a wooden head joint, which I think is a very interesting kind of design choice to make. Unsure if that was done on purpose, but what that would mean is that the, it'd be very predictable for the three octaves, lowest, middle, and high octave. And that's where most people play in anyway. Like, you're not normally screaming into the fourth register regardless of what flute you play. And especially on a wooden flute, I don't think you normally would scream up that high So I'm like, that's clever. Like, I think that's really clever if that's the case. You know, there is no such thing as an entirely perfect flute or flute head joint design. It's always a give and a take. So like, you know, you give in one part, you'll have to take from another. And that's kind of what's going on in my head as I'm trying this right now. I'm like, ooh, that like immediately noticed that there's that crazy break between the high B and the high C, like the fourth register C. But wow, what a woody sound. Ooh, incredible. Yeah. Violet, you're feeling the same thing too. Yeah, it's that fourth register. I think it wants to sit suddenly much lower, much more forward, which is why I think a lot of people are not actually finding those notes. But yeah, let's try out our harmonics now and try and map out this flute. Ooh, that is tough. That is tough getting that high C out. I am noticing it's very forward playing. It's very, very forward playing. I did a tiny bit of research right before this stream because I wanted to see if I could find like a website or something. So actually, I'll give it to you guys now, but you guys can go check out David Chu's website, which is really cute, by the way. He got the website name sideblown.com, which I think is super cute. So I'll put here David Chu's website. And yeah, so if you guys refresh this page, you'll see it in the bottom bar now. Apparently one of his favorite flute makers is Louis Lott, which is a flute that we had the chance to try a couple months back now. And something that I noticed on Louis Lott flutes is how far forward they play. They play very, very far forward. And also, if I'm not mistaken, I believe I needed to kind of have it sit higher on my lower lip, and kind of have a more like a smaller, slightly smaller airstream, I believe. And I am definitely feeling all of those things on this head joint. It does seem like there is sort of a resurgence of like a vintage feel for these head joints, for these types of head joints. Like a lot of head joint makers are kind of looking back right now. So I think this is, it does feel slightly modernized. It does feel slightly modernized from an actual Louis Lott head joint. But yeah, it has retained the very, very forward playing. So I'm playing, that air bubble is sitting in front of my teeth, clear up to the high E, which is very far forward compared to most modern cut head joints, I would say. And yeah, so I do want to struggle a little bit, if you guys will permit me, to see if I can find the high C. And you know, if I can't find it after a bit, I will just give up, because I don't think that's what this flute is built to play anyway, or this head joint is built to play. So, but let me give it a go. I think I physically don't have the space for it. And I just had a thought that if this head joint is modeled after a Louis lot, I wonder if it just will straight up work better on a C foot joint. So I think this is turning into a review that would probably be more suited to someone who is like purchasing, for example, a refurbished C foot joint flute. Because yeah, I can feel that the lowest C, it wants to sit in a spot that is quite low. So it's very forward, but it's very low, which is something that happens when you play a B foot joint. It causes, like I said earlier, your low notes to sit lower and your high notes to sit higher in the mouth. So if we go on a C foot joint flute, my guess is that what it's going to do now is bring that kind of uncomfortable feeling that I had in the low notes to sit higher. And then those high notes, they might just be low enough for me to get them now. So my suspicion now is that this head joint is going to work very well with legitimately like flutes with a more vintage design. So let's see. Yeah, I'm getting it no problem on a C foot joint. So this is actually making me think that like this head joint, I feel, is almost like designed for a C foot joint flute, I feel, because that was a lot more comfortable. It took me a while to find the low C because I was trying to find how high up it actually is. It's quite high up now that it's on a C foot joint. Yeah, but I am finding that I do have to ride the lip plate really high on my mouth, exactly like I had to on the Louis lot. So, yeah, this is you can see, you can feel where the influences are coming from, yeah. So I feel like I'm actually wondering now if this didn't have a lip plate, if it would actually be more comfortable for me. I'm actually starting to wonder that now, because I almost feel like there's like too much lip plate right now. It's like kind of getting in the way. So I think in the future it would be fun to try one of David Chu's head joints without the lip plate and see if that in combo with the design of the lip cut, if that works better for my mouth. Yeah. So like, I feel like this is like modern vintage is how I would describe it. It works really well on a C foot joint. You can scream up to the high C on a C foot joint. Let me use like the real like fingerings as well and see if it still has that gap. Nope, no gap. I think this is designed for a C foot joint. I think that at least it's certainly like wow, that is way more responsive on a C foot joint. So I'm just gonna write it in here for anyone who's coming in. Seems to be designed for a C foot flute, which makes sense to me because when the Louis lot flutes first, came out like 100 years ago, 100 years ago, C foot joint was the standard. So if you're going to, model a lot of your flute making, head joint making techniques, after Louis lot, I'm not surprised that it ends up working way better on C foot joint flutes. Way clearer, right? Crazy. So I said all of that in the beginning that I was going to do this on a B foot joint. No, we're going to, I don't think that a B foot joint will make this head joint shine. A C foot joint really makes this head joint shine. So like if you guys want this like very deliciously woody sound, I know that there are quite a few people out there who play delightfully refurbished vintage C foot joint flutes that are made very, very well. So this is a head joint that will work very well. It seems to be designed for a C foot joint flute. Holy cow. It just suddenly worked. Like I swear even the intonation is better on the C foot. Alluring, is it strange for you to have the wood combined with metal sound? So what's funny is that I feel that the boxwood gives you even more of that woody sound. So like I feel like you could get away with you can get away with this combo kind of sounding like a very powerful wooden flute. It to me is more what it sounds like. Compared to other woods, I feel that boxwood gives more of like a really woody edge. Oh, okay. Yeah. Seems to be designed for a C foot flute. The other thing is so heavy influences from Louis lot So in particular, I'm noticing because I have a fairly thick lower lip, rides high on lower lip, or if you have thin lips, they'll be very comfortable for you. Will be comfortable for thinner lips, or for thin lips, that is. Okay. So air bubble, very forward in the mouth. Air bubble mostly in front of teeth. I'm curious when it stops being in front of the teeth. I don't think it ever goes behind the teeth. I think even the high B flat is actually in front of my gums. That's what it feels like to me. I barely have the room for the high B flat and the C. Barely. You guys can hear it cracking a little, and it's because I barely have enough room for them. So let's draw this really quickly. Here we go. So we have here yeah, guys, I never thought that I would encounter a head joint where I could decisively feel that it just works better on a C foot joint. Like just everything worked better. Like the high notes are speaking more clearly. The low notes are much more comfortable to obtain. I think the only thing that is like a little bit uncomfortable for me personally is that it rides really high on my lower lip, but you guys can see how thick my lower lip is. If you have thin lips, this is going to be really, really, really amazing and comfortable, especially on a C foot joint. So anyway, let's write this here. So this is the Chu Boxwood head joint. All right, and then I'm gonna start drawing. So first off, it sits really high. So none of this will work if the flute isn't sitting in the right spot. So first make sure it's sitting very high, or if you have very thin lips, it's just gonna be comfortable for you. So I feel like my low C is like here. Then my C above that is like here. It's all very close together, which makes this very flexible feeling. So so the G is sitting, G is sitting like here, and then this C is like here, I want to say, I think. A tad higher, just a tad higher. It's like in the middle of my front teeth. It's like here. And then the E is fairly close. E is like here. All right. No wonder this was so muffled on the B foot joint, because the G is like right here where the teeth meets the gums, but in the front. And if this is on a B foot joint, then that would ride quite a bit higher, at which point I don't think I have enough room for that to really like pop. Okay, we do B flat. I did find it, but the only way to do it is if I literally lift my mouth. So I have to actually open my mouth taller. So if I open my mouth taller, the B flat is like sitting right up here. It's actually a little higher. Technically, it's a little higher, which is why it only comes out when I lift my mouth. So I have to open taller, which means that I do have to kind of like, in order to keep everything relative to the flute, you know, compared to how we played all the other notes, I have to tilt my head back just a hair, tiny bit, tilt it back, but mostly like open my mouth taller. Otherwise, I can't get to that space right there. All right. Yep. Okay. So I was right. The C7 is way out like here. So it's suddenly down and forward. So I have to kind of puff out my top lip. Yeah. So the way that this plays seriously is very much reminding me of a Louis Lot. It's actually kind of wild. How similar to a Louis Lot this is. Let me just very quickly, there we go. I'm just going to label it for you guys. So that's C4. I hope this is not too small. It's a bit too small. There we go. So this one is C4. Yeah, you guys can somewhat read that at least. C5. This is G5. And then we have C6, E6, and then I'll start labeling from this side. G6, B flat 6, and then we have this one is C7. And I will just kind of put little, there we go. Now you guys, there we go. Okay. So hopefully that's pretty clear. Very, very forward playing. In my opinion, pretty much only really works on a C foot joint flute. I could imagine you could make it work on a B foot joint because, you know, essentially what you're seeing here, my map here, if you kind of stretched it out both ways vertically, would be what you would do on a B foot joint. And I would imagine that if you had a very large mouth, that would be more comfortable for you. But yeah, only if you have a very large mouth, then I think you could potentially make it work. But I would say that the low notes might still be kind of uncomfortably low. But yeah. Hey, Megan, how are you? Hello, Noelle. Other Noelle. Yeah. Wow. Okay. So, yeah. But yeah, between my two flutes here, it really not working on a B foot joint, just completely and utterly, you lose the top notes so much. Even the high G was really hard to make it very like clear and like brilliant sounding. So yeah, this is very interesting. Okay, I'm going to, I will try this on my kind of my typical song, which is the Genshin Impact main theme. I will try it there, but I think where this is really going to shine is if we do some like more classical repertoire stuff. So maybe like a little bit of Mozart concerto, a little bit of like Baroque music probably is going to sound really good on this. Maybe I'm curious how the romantic stuff will sound, but I almost kind of feel like it's like Baroque classical is probably going to sound the best on this. But just for fun, I'm going to play a little bit of the Genshin Impact main theme. Sorry about that, guys. Hopefully. Do you guys hear that? I feel like you guys must. Okay, it's done. Oh. Oh, it really shines in the low register. Really, really shines in the low register. Oh, wow. Wow, 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 wow. Okay, I'm gonna try out a little bit of like the opening of the Mozart G. Yeah, yeah, that's good. That's good on that. If we did a little bit of maybe Bach B minor, one of my favorites. Let's see. Baroque music is where it's at. Basically, old music is really, I think, where this shines. So if I do more something with a little bit more of an Asian flair, that is also kind of harkening back to sort of like old folk melodies. So this is from Genshin Impact as well. I really like this one. Yes. That's where it's at. Wow. Okay, so I messed a little bit with tone color dynamic type of stuff. I'm just going to mess with it a little bit more just to kind of, give you guys a little bit more of a concrete description of what it's like to manipulate all of that. So it's all in the space in your jaw. So it's that space
behind your bottom teeth, if you like really allow that area to open up, get your tongue out of the way, really kind of pretend like you're holding two marbles in there, or two marbles in there, you'll get that really rich sound. And then you close that area up. I usually kind of put my tongue above it, above that space, to kind of cut off that space underneath, and you'll get that like tiny thin sound, the like, super piano. So it's all in how you manipulate the space in the bottom half of your mouth. That's what will give you that rich sound, rich and loud sound, versus the like soft and thin sound. Very interesting. That to me reminds me of how a pearl plays. So this is like an interesting combo of like Louis Lott and like modern pearl kind of like combined together. At least to me, that's kind of what it feels like. Very responsive, insanely responsive. But yeah, I think with this kind of like woodsy sound as well, really lends itself well to music that was written for or had in mind a wooden flute. I think that's one of the reasons why I like Baroque music, classical era music, sounds so good on this, because flutes were wooden back then. Our Western flute was wooden back then. And then also the other pieces that I was playing, if I recall correctly, I believe the instrument that is used to play that last song that I was playing from Genshin Impact is like some sort of Japanese flute, which is wooden. So yeah, this I think very good for folk style music, and like Baroque, classical. So I'll put that in here too. Who knows? Like if you're watching this later, maybe this is exactly what you're looking for. So perfect woodiness, like color for Baroque, classical, folk type of music. Wow. Really beautiful. I kind of wish I had more time to like mess around with it even more, but I feel that is like a pretty good kind of look into that. So I think what I want to do now is let's do the no name. I have no idea what to expect here. I had absolutely no research to go on. So like I have no idea what this is going to feel like. This is going to be very interesting. Let's see. Here we go. So this is going to be the no name head joint. So this is the I'll put here Grenadilla bubble style head joint, and I will make sure that fits in here. Will it fit? Oh, it just doesn't fit. So I think what we'll do here then is we'll go into the second. There we go. We'll do that. Okay. Put that in the middle there, and then our notes. Oops. Okay, we'll do that. Yeah, okay. That's still. Oh. Never mind. Give me a sec here, guys. I'm going to drag this down and then. There we go. Okay, cool. So let me get a fresh page out though. Okay. I'm now also curious if this thing is going to work better on a C-foot joint as well. This is a certified pre-owned. but there's nothing else that I really know about this except that it's made out of Grenadilla. It has like kind of a bubble near the tenon. And yeah, just I have no idea how this is going to play. Absolutely no idea. This is super interesting. Yeah, so looking at the head joint, I'm going to show you guys again for anyone who wasn't here earlier. Looking at the head joint, I can tell that there's sort of like a very sharp ridge on this side, and then the hole continues on the other side. So I often find that this design on the lip plate kind of creates sort of like a partial wave style head joint effect. So usually it helps with like, at least in my experience, with like projection, you know, playing a little bit louder, that type of thing. Unsure if that's actually what's going to happen here, but at least that's what happens in my experience. But I'm now curious if this is also going to work better on a C foot joint or on a B foot joint. Have no idea. Also, I totally called it bugle style, not bubble style. Let me change that. Oops. There we go. Good job, me. Okay. Yeah, the shape is really interesting. I completely agree. Also, welcome to the stream, Hannah. Okay. I realize I've been on my flute microphones this whole time. Sorry about that, guys. But I'll start playing now. Okay, so immediately right off the bat, I can tell you this is a very modern head joint, very modern. As soon as I like popped the lip plate on my lips, I could feel that the edge of the lip hole was hitting the right spot on the like bottom edge of my lip. I did not feel that on the Chu. On the Chu, it very much everything needed to ride higher for my airstream to work, which is a very vintage style of playing. This one is modern though, very modern. And as you guys can hear, it does project very well. But let's see what happens when I, test out the rest of the notes. We'll see if this is like good on a B foot joint flute. So what I'm feeling immediately is this low register into the like bottom half of the middle register. It's sitting lower than I typically expect. So I am starting to think this is going to work better on a C foot joint flute. Like, we'll see though. I'm going to keep going. Hey Brenda, how are you? It works fine on a B foot joint flute. I think it's, for me, the low notes sit
a little lower than I would expect. But the high notes are actually not crazy high on this. It is, I am curious now though, so I do want to try it on the C foot and see if it's easier. But I don't think that this head joint, like I wouldn't make the same, oh no. Can I? I can't. It doesn't fit in my Miteki. It's thicker. Oh, rip. Okay. So I can't try it on my C foot. This is definitely too wide to fit on my Brannon, so I can't try it on that one either. My suspicion though is that it would be more comfortable on a C foot joint, but I don't feel like it's like built for one, if that makes sense. Like I'm not losing resonance in the low register and I'm not losing resonance in the high register by playing it on a B foot. Whereas on the Chu, at least the Boxwood one, I was actually straight up losing resonance in the low register and in the high registers. Interesting. Very interesting to me. So I will say this one is definitely kind of like a modern cut head joint. It's a modern design. I think I do want to write that down. So this is a modern design. Has that kind of like ridge on the other side. So ridge on opposite side of lip hole. It sits a little bit further back once you hit the kind of like, top of the middle register. So it sits right behind the teeth, and then like everything lower than that is like kind of in the front, lower and forward. And to me, that is a very kind of like modern kind of mapping of where the air bubble sits in the mouth. So let's map it. Okay, so this one is a no-name Grenadilla bubble style head joint. Oh, we'll put it here, bubble style head joint. There we go. Okay, so we'll map it. Okay, so it sits low enough that I need to stick out my lower lip so there's space for it. But it is kind of like low and forward. So let's see. It feels like it's sitting like here. And so I have to stick out my lower lip in order to make that space that is non-existent for me. All right, if that makes sense. All right. All right, so one octave above that, it's sitting right in front of my lower teeth. It's like sitting right here. And then Sorry, I was moving the air bubble around just to test, but it's like kind of in between the teeth, so it's sort of it's riding a little on the higher side, but it is around here, I want to say. Right behind the top teeth. It's like almost digging into the teeth, it feels like. Underneath where the teeth meets the gums, that's where the E is. It's like right there. And then so this is the outlier, the one that kind of breaks out of the pattern and sits much more lower and forward. So it's sitting like right there. I can feel it right up against my top lip, very forward. So B flat goes back to what we were doing before. And it's pretty much right where the teeth meets the gums. Definitely a little bit clearer if I open my mouth a bit more. And the C should sit right on top of that. I think that space doesn't exist in my mouth. Okay. Yeah, that space doesn't really exist in my mouth. It's so high up, I can't really reach it. It's like right here. There is no really comfortable, feasible way for me to open my mouth and tilt my head back to make that space right there. So that's just a me thing. If you have a larger mouth than me, you may not have this issue at all. Yeah. So I can imagine that if I did this on a C foot joint flute, all of those high notes would sit lower and that low note would sit higher. So I would no longer have to stick out my lower lip to play the low C. It would just sit on top of where my lower lip is already resting. And I probably would be able to play the high C because all of those high notes would sit a bit lower. So yeah, the Chu that we were looking at earlier, this one, this is on a C foot joint. So if you were to stretch it out a little bit vertically, lower notes sitting lower and higher notes sitting higher, you would probably get what it would feel like on a B foot joint. And then this one, I can't fit this on my C foot joint flute, but this is what we've mapped on a B foot joint flute. If you were to squish this, then that would be, I think, how it would play on a C foot. Looking at this map, I feel like it would be more comfortable on a C foot joint, especially if you have a smaller mouth. But if you have a larger mouth than me, this may be no problem for you whatsoever. And something to keep in mind, if you don't already know, I have a literal child-sized mouth. I have verified this at the dentist's office because I have to ask for the pediatric x-ray tab. So, yeah, but as you can tell, this particular no-name head joint has a much more kind of like modern mapping. It kind of comes behind the teeth instead of sitting in front of them. So yeah, this is a very modern wooden head joint. So I'll put here, the air bubble rises behind front teeth. Yeah. So, right. I should label these for you though. Let me do that really quick. Okay. So 20. Okay. So this one is C4. This one is C5. Then we have G5. C6. We have E6. This one is G6. This is B flat 6. And then this one is C7. Okay. So interestingly enough, this is kind of confirming to me that I do actually think that our experimentation with the Pere Alcon head joints and them, you know, those head joints allowing me to hit a D7, I feel like this kind of is helping me confirm that that is actually part of the design of his head joints, is that you know, it's sitting, the high notes are sitting low enough in the mouth that you can hit a D7 if you wanted to. Yeah, this mapping on this no name Grenadilla bubble style head joint is like, to me, this is actually what more or less what I would expect from like essentially like a generic modern head joint. It's not a bad thing. It's just, this is my expectation, is something along the lines of this. So, you know, if you just wanted a very modern style, modern like feeling when you play into it, something that's not too, you know, different from kind of like modern, like I would say intermediate pre-professional flutes, kind of being sold these days. You might really like this, I think. But it just kind of gives you that woody sound. So let's try some tone color dynamic manipulation on here. Yeah, on this one, I can tongue behind my teeth now for like some of the higher notes, which is a lot more comfortable for me. And I think for a lot of people, that is a lot more comfortable. A lot of people are taught to tongue by having the tip of their tongue make contact with the back of their teeth or with the where the teeth meets the gum. And at least a lot of people are taught that in North America. So, you know, this would articulate very well for someone who articulates like that. The only thing that you would have to look out for is, I would say, G5 and below. You'll have to think more about tonguing between the teeth like that for it to be really crystal clear. And I'm now starting to realize I would like to try it on the Chu as well. I got so carried away with how interesting the Chu was that I forgot to test the articulation, which I'm expecting is like the Louis lot. Like, I think it's just right between the teeth, like pretty much the entire time. But anyway. Again, it's a very modern way of like manipulating tone color. You take the air bubble itself and you make it flat and wide for rich sound. And then you squash it narrow and tall for that, or like small for that hollow, thin sound. I'm realizing now that that's actually a very kind of like modern approach to tone color manipulation. Yeah, and that air bubble, just make the air bubble huge for a really loud sound, make the air bubble small for a really soft sound. Yeah, very, very modern. I didn't realize how different these were going to be. And it actually proved to be pretty interesting for this review. I'm going to try out articulation. have more of a temptation to do the cuff further back in the mouth on this one, but this one still needs your K's to be very forward. It's still, even though the air bubble is coming kind of slightly further back than the Chu, this is actually still a very forward playing flute. So, which is surprising to me because it is Grenadilla. Usually Grenadilla kind of like knocks things back, further back for me. So make sure your K's are very forward. They're like ka against like the roof of your mouth, as far forward as you can do it. So. So the double tonguing on this one is actually a fairly vintage way of double tonguing. The K doesn't actually make full contact with the roof of your mouth. I would say that that is like the only vintage thing that I feel from this. So I'll put here double tongue K does not actually make contact with roof of mouth. Yeah, I found that on vintage flutes, like on the Louis lot, that I wasn't actually making contact with any part of my mouth when I was doing the K sound. I was more going it feels like you're doing a very slurred, not with bad diction, saying lugga lugga, but saying it with horrible diction so that you're not even fully making those consonants. Like that. It's like really slurred. So, but it comes out really crystal clear. Yeah. So interestingly enough, the double tongue on this head joint is a vintage style double tonguing, but it is slightly further back in the mouth. So I find it a little bit more comfortable to do this kind of like weird, not full contact double tongue than on like a true Louis lot. A true Louis lot, it's so forward that I actually find it really quite difficult to maintain, which is making me think, oops, for this one, it's okay, it's my own flute. For this one, I think it's something similar. Whoa. Whoops. Okay, so. Interesting. Okay, weirdly enough, I feel like I can make more contact with my mouth with the K part of the double tongue on the Chu. So somehow he's modernized the articulation part of it so you can make more contact inside of your mouth. That's so interesting. Okay, so on the Chu, you can make more contact. I'm doing more of a thuku 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 thuku, very forward in the mouth, but you can do it for the entire range because all of the notes are in front of the teeth. Because as soon as you slip your tongue behind your teeth, that's too far back. It'll sound like thumping. So yeah, the articulation is very clean and crisp, and consistent on the Chu because you only need a tongue right there between your teeth. And for some reason, I can make more contact. So we've got kind of opposites going on here. This no name is mostly modernized, but the tonguing and the double tonguing is vintage style in that you don't want to make crazy contact with any part of your mouth. Like you don't want like a hard contact. So any sort of like kind of like a very light touch is all you really need. So very very light articulation. Very light. That's so interesting. Even the t, just single tongue, needs to be so light. It's weird because the Chu is like, you can feel like for the most part, it's like very vintage influenced, but then the tonguing, you can make like a harsher contact with, different parts of your mouth. This one is a very modernized feel tone wise, but you have to do vintage style tonguing, like super, super light. That's so interesting. Okay, last thing is to just try out a few tunes. So I'm going to try out, as usual, Genshin Impact main theme. I can already feel, I don't think this head joint is built for that kind of folky flute sound. Like I don't think so. It's not kind of giving. The Chu kind of let me push the intonation a little bit. Like I could do more pitch bendy type stuff. This one is not giving. Like pitch bendiness, like kind of like a little bit of like a little wah wah sound. No. It's not giving it. So I'm thinking romantic style music would be amazing on this. So let's find some romantic era music. Like for example, if I were to play the beginning of the Bach B minor, I think you guys will hear that this doesn't really give to me. Like it's too clean. Which is perfect for romantic style music. So let me look up some music to read off of here. Okay. Ooh. Okay, let's see. So I'm looking at like just like a French romantic piece of music. Let's see what's going to work. I'm not going to do the concertino because that one gets me demonetized. So, ooh, For a Fantasy is a really good one because this one requires insane control, precision when it comes to like your intonation and when it comes to your like tone color production. You want things to be very consistent sounding for this to sound good. So here we go. Okay. Yeah. It works a lot better for pieces where you want way more consistency. I want to try the beginning again because I just realized I really need to do more of a pew kind of embouchure in the beginning. Yeah, that works great. That works really, really great. I think I want to try the beginning of the Gone Andante et Scherzo. Okay, playing that made me realize what this really needs. This Grenadilla head joint needs to be on a solid silver body. It needs to be on a it needs it. I think that's the extra bit of brilliance that it really needs for this head joint to really shine. Unfortunately, I do not have that combo with me at all here. So sorry, guys. It does not fit on my Mitegi, so I can't show you guys how brilliant it can really sound. So I will put this here, though, that I think it will work very well on a sterling silver. Likely will work spectacularly on a solid silver body. Yeah, I think that's where I'm really losing a bit of that brilliance that I think would make this French romantic music shine even more. I could immediately tell it was not cutting it with something that sounds even remotely folky. It's also making Baroque music, at least the tiny bit that I played, sound a little bit like a bit on the weaker side. Yeah, we're not getting as much of that like pathos in the sound. But now I'm curious about the beginning of the Mozart G, because I think this will cut it for the Mozart G.
More forward.
I think it would sound even better on a silver. Like I think this needs a silver body. I think it does. I think it needs a silver body. I think it would be amazing on a silver body. So you would get the consistency. It's a very consistent head joint. So it kind of like forces you to like be in its tone color palette. Like it's like it gives you a tone color palette to play inside of, and it stays within that tone color palette very consistently. Like the moment you try to kind of eke out of that palette, it resists you, and it instead of giving, it kind of starts to sound a little thin and a little airy. But as long as you remain within the palette, it just has this delightfully, like rich sound. So I will put here very consistent tone color palette. Yeah. So like so this is really, really good for I would say more classical repertoire, romantic repertoire. I would even maybe try this on like 20th century music too, that kind of has more of the like I wonder how this would sound on the Hindemith Sonata. So flute. So I think this would sound really good on the, like, let's just do the beginning. If this was on a silver flute, it would be even better. Okay, so I think silver body for this head joint. And you want to be like, the style of music that you want to play on this is something that requires consistency. Classical era music, romantic era music. But in my opinion, wow, 20th century music like this, wow, that's really nice. What about the Prokofiev Flute Sonata? Oh, I think this would be so good on the Prokofiev. Like, ridiculously good.
Sorry. I think this is a slightly different version because the version I did was like an octave higher from there.
Anyway, that sounds grand. I think this is so good for 20th century music. This is nice for 20th century music. Wow, for 20th century music. Wow. Wow. I wish I had a sterling silver body that I could try this on, because I feel like it would really shine. Like, you would get a little bit more of that woodsy edge to just kind of make it sound a little bit more organic, but you still get that like really like aggressive drive that a lot of 20th century music needs. I don't think I've ever really encountered a wooden head joint that I'm like, this is stunning on 20th century music. Stunning. Wow. I'm so glad I tried these. Because, yeah, they're really built for like a very kind of like specific type of person. Like, this is the person who would want this head joint is a person who likes 20th century music, but wants to give it that slightly more organic sound to it. Plays a solid sterling silver flute, body and foot joint. Likely, if you were to play C foot joint, it would make it easier if you have a smaller mouth. But yeah, you get a lot of power. That's a lot of power for a wood head joint. I'm so stunned. Yeah. And the Chu with this kind of like vintage style of playing, but a modernized articulation. It's so interesting. Ooh. Well, I had fun. I'm done. I can feel myself getting a little tired. But wow, that was stunning. That was absolutely stunning. So we're just going to clean up now. Both of these head joints are absolutely stunning. If you guys want to get your hands on these exact ones, you guys can use the product links down below. For now, what I'm going to do is clean up my flutes one by one in front of you guys, and we will call it a day. So let me respond to some of you guys. Hey, Amir. Hello. Hi and bye. I hope you see this afterwards and you let me know what you think. This is such an interesting combo of like vintage and modern for both of these head joints. Like, what the heck? So interesting. Vinny, you are asking, by the way, if you guys have any like random questions you guys want to ask me right now, now is the time. So while I'm cleaning up. But for now, I'll answer what I see in the chat. Vinny is asking what I am playtesting on. So this flute, this one, is my old Mateki. It is a professional flute, but it is, I wonder if now it'd be considered vintage, because I got it when, and it was already used for a long time before I got it. It's closed hole C foot joint, very much something that you only see on vintage flutes. So, but yeah, this is a solid silver Mateki that I really should pay for an overhaul, because I actually wonder how brilliantly it can play once it's been fully overhauled. I just have not gotten around to it. And the other flute is my Trevor James copper alloy. It is my backup flute. And the reason why I have to use these two flutes to try these head joints is because the bore on these is wider, and it fits these head joints. My main flute is a Brannan gold, 10 karat gold. And because it's 10 karat gold, the bore is smaller. And also Brannan flutes are kind of known to be a little bit smaller. So, so these head joints just don't fit on it. So the copper alloy Trevor James is my backup. I do love playing things with copper in them, because it just kind of fits my style of playing very well. But yeah, those are my two flutes that I'm was testing these on. Illustrator of Fantasies, did you change your username? I feel like you've been here before, but I just can't tell from the name who you are. I would love to, address you properly. Vinny is also saying that the Boxwood looks like a pepper grinder. It does, doesn't it? Really thick. A lot of them tend to look like that. And what's really fun is that, because they're so thick, usually one of the Flute Center head joint boxes I'll show you. So if you try head joints from the Flute Center, they will send you a flute head joint box like this with your chosen head joints in them. So you can see there's one here that I'm going to review next week. But you see that there are 4 slots. You can't fit all 4 of these really thick head joints in here. So you can only maximum fit 3 of them, because they kind of like push this. So you can't fit a 4th one in there. So yeah, these dividers are because it's just a layer of foam on top of another layer. So that's why these can kind of move around a little. But yeah, fun fact, it is actually so thick that you can't fit 4 of them in a head joint box. Trust me, I tried. It just keeps popping out. I can't do it. So it's really funny. Noelle, you never knew that there's so many head joints with a flute. It's a slippery slope. Oh, finding out about this stuff is a slippery, slippery slope. Yes, there is so much out there. And there are a lot of smaller business flute head joint makers. And I find that those smaller businesses, which is what I've been really focusing on this month, I find that those smaller businesses are kind of where you get a lot of the creativity. Like they like to look in the past, in history. So for example, this Chu, you can really feel that Louis Lott influence. They're really kind of pushing the bounds of how a flute can sound. So for example, David Chu, and I would love to try it one day, has bamboo head joints for the C flute. And I'm like, excuse me? I feel like that would create such an interesting sound. So yeah, a lot of kind of the smaller business head joint makers like to sort of push the bounds of what the flute can sound like. And I really like that because, you know, more creativity. And, you know, like evolution of flute music, basically. Denmark Street Big Band. Thank you for your sweet comment. I would also like to try a Miyazawa Cresta myself. That is on the list of eventually I will tries. I do want to try that one. That one's been mentioned several times by many, many people. Yeah. So, hey, Michael, you got your flute back from the repair shop and it was overhauled? That's fantastic. I hope you're enjoying it. Oh, you guys are so sweet. Thank you all. You guys are, okay, legit, you guys are like the most well-mannered, like live stream chat that any streamer has. You guys put everyone else to shame. Absolutely. Like I lurk in other streams. They're nowhere near as like as thoughtful as you guys. So thank you. You guys are so sweet. So Stephen, can't wait for me to try the new Burkhart Legacy. Burkhart Legacy? Excuse me? Ooh, that sounds interesting. So, just so you guys know, this is a delightful symbiotic relationship between us, you know? Because I get to share with you guys what I think about how these delightful flutes and head joints play. But then I also get to hear from you guys what you guys are seeing kind of coming out into the market, you know? Like, this is, I get a lot of my ideas of what to review from you guys. And it's very fun. Very, very fun. Okay, I have finished cleaning up. So we will wrap it up real quickly here. I'm just going to see if there are any last questions before I go. Came out an email today from Flute Center. Oh, I must have gotten this email too. The new Burkhart flute model. Yeah, I just saw it. Oh, legacy model. Ooh, Lillian Burkhart legacy model. Ooh, you can get it with or without C-sharp trills, but E mechanism. I like it. 2 head joint styles, and then you have a few head joint options. Ooh. Let's see. Ooh. Building on the success of the legacy piccolo. Oh, excuse me? Oh my God, this piccolo has Straubinger pads. Oh, wow. Oh my God. Yo, I wonder if... Interesting. I wonder if I can get my hands on these sometime. Maybe I could do like a legacy, Burkhart legacy stream. That'd be pretty cool. No promises. No promises, okay? I just think it would be cool. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, Stephen. But anyway, I'm done. I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys had fun too. I was considering doing 2 streams this week, but I was too tired. I was too mentally not with it to do it. So we got our 1 stream a week. So we have another stream lined up for sometime next week where I will review the last 2 head joints that I have with me here. But yeah, you guys have already given me some good ideas of what I can ask for in my next request to the Flute Center. So I'll see what they have. I'll see what they can get to me. But thank you so much for joining me, you guys. Please take care of yourselves. Stay happy, healthy, and safe to the best of your ability, because there's no music without the musician. I will see you guys next week. Have an amazing weekend. Laters, guys. Bye.